So our first speaker of the conference start as we mean to go on. We have the amazing William Bloom, who we've just been reminiscing of my mother. What mother? Is she out the back? Are you? Hi, my mother and I at Sitsa in Greece. That William was there also teaching, and he remembered me when I was like 8 years old skating around. But so William is a world-class mystic and leader of the New Age world. Is that right, William?
No.
No, sorry. Yeah, I will read sorry. A leading of the mind, body, and spirit teacher. Sorry, not New Age world, but and I should read this, shouldn't I? Really. And William is going to be doing a talk about dragons of heaven and earth and how they are connected to the energies of the body and the planet and everything. I won't give too much away, but let's welcome William up to the stage and get things going. Thank you, William. Sorry about that.
No. Put it back.
Put it back.
Get out of my way. All right, lighting. You can't see me. I'm going to banter with you for about 10 minutes, then show 10 minutes worth of slides, and then go into a longer talk. Can you hear me okay? Yeah? All right. I know this building really well, and it was so stuffy 10 minutes ago that when I was up here, I went, oh, I'm going to faint because it was so stuffy in here. So I've opened the doors at the back, and I've opened the fire escape door, so there's a flow of air. If it gets too chilly or too noisy, whoever's at the back and at the front, will you take responsibility? Just go and close the doors. Don't leave it to Tor, who will be...
The door?
No, so don't leave it to him. just do it. Okay. And I know this building very well, because when I first came to Glastonbury, I moved down here originally in 1976, which is a hint at how old I am. And I wanted to do a little bit of banter with you first of all. This is my first outing in a real life situation. I've been teaching online for the last 3 years, which has been wonderful. How many of you have taken psychedelics? Little wave. Okay, fine. How many of you are meditators? Just so I know. You. How many of you kind of are energy workers of one kind or another? Cool. Therapists, counselors? Yeah. Therapists, counselors. Yeah. Okay. Would I mind using the microphone? Okay, I'm mic'd up actually. So what's happening? Is this just for you recording me, not actually?
Yeah, that's,
okay,
yeah, that's
fine.
for people to hear you.
That's for people to hear me. All right.
You can take it off and hold it.
Well, as the bishop said to the actress. Sorry, that's my version of Tourette's. I was saying to a friend, I will be inappropriate right into the grave. You know, I'll be lying in the coffin, squeaking out little inappropriate comments. I first came to Glastonbury when it was 1971, I was 22-ish, and I was running a small street charity in London called Advise, which was the first immigrant advisory service for 24-hour advisory service for immigrants. And I was trying to raise money, and a friend of mine said, you must go and meet this person over here. She's deep in the charity world, and she'll know how to get some money for you. And I went to visit this person, who was Arabella Churchill. Do you remember? She was the granddaughter of Winston Churchill, and she was part of the organising crew for the first Glastonbury Festival. Anyway, I met her in a very posh flat in Belgravia, and it was the early 70s, and kind of the first thing she said to me was, it was my birthday a few days ago, and I got given some very good acid. Would you like to take it with me? And I went, yeah. And I never slept with her. This is probably more than you need to know, but she's, because nearly everybody else did. And she brought me down to Worthy Farm, which is, you know, the farm where the Glastonbury Festival is. And I was put in the master bedroom. Michael Evers was moved out of his bedroom, and I was put in the master bedroom. And for 2 or 3 days, everybody was creeping around me, licking my ass, basically, and asking what I thought of the festival and what I thought should be done. And the only comment I had was, make sure, I'm a motorcyclist, let's make sure there's a field for the bikers, right? And they're going, oh yeah, there'll be a field for the bikers. And about 3 days into this madness, I looked at one of the hippies there and said, what is going on? And she said, well, Bella says that you're going to finance the festival. So in the communications for me going to her to help her raise money for this charity I was involved with, she got it completely wrong. I thought I was stinking rich. And I went and told her immediately, and within half an hour, I was in a car being taken back to London. But one of the things that happened to me, and this is relevant to what I'm going to talk about, one of the things that happened to me, I was taking up the tour for the first time. I'm a London boy originally, and thought the countryside was boring, and was taken up this. Your phone's off. I heard a phone ting. If your phones are not off, switch them off. Put them on silent. I was taken up the tour and given dowsing rods, and my dowsing rods started to move quite fast. And I've been sensitive to atmospheres, energies, people's vibes, and the vibes of places since I was little. And in my teens, as many of you may have found out, it was possible when people were stoned or sensitive, it was possible to change the atmosphere by just putting in a kind of little spooky story here or a happy story there. You could change, you could feel the atmosphere in the room changing. And as mischievous teenagers who like to play Ouija boards or whatever it was interesting to shift atmospheres and stuff. And there I was suddenly in this extraordinary landscape up on the tour. And yes, the dowsing rods were moving, and that was a bit interesting. But what was far more interesting to me, a London boy who'd never got the country, never understood landscape before, was this extraordinary sense of something in the field, in the energy field, in the atmosphere, in the aura of the place. And I ended up living here. But relevant to this morning's conversation was there were other dowsers who were dowsing ley lines, the ley energies, the meridians of the planet. And they were kind of walking around the tour, marking them off. And I was having a different experience. My experience was, there is something huge here. If you think of a human body and the meridians, the flow of energy through the body, the size of it, if you then transfer it proportionally to the size of the planet as a whole, a ley line, an energy line, is not going to be as thin as a little thing. It's going to be maybe a couple of miles wide. Do you follow me? And the idea that it was like, it was different if you were just catching water currents. or little mini flows of electricity through the earth. Yes, they could be small, there could be little cracks that emerge, but if you were talking about the big ones, then we were looking at quite phenomenally large energy flows, miles high, miles wide, proportionally appropriate for the size of the planet. And many of you possibly, I always felt driving from London, coming down to Glastonbury from London, about 30 miles away from Glastonbury, my body actually started to feel something quite substantial. Any of you have a similar thing? Yeah, a couple of people raising their hands, right? So it's not just me. So we're talking about large vortices, stuff that we don't fully understand. And so I was deeply interested in what is going on here energetically, the size and the scope of it, and how it's influencing me. So I'm going to show some slides in a minute. And what the slides are pointing to is the, I'm getting my drink. It's really interesting to see human beings. I've been doing everything on Zoom for the last 3 years, and if any of you get noisy, I'll just mute you. It's just, it's just, yeah, just try, did you say? Just you try. Just you try. Anyway, so the essence of my message this morning is that dragons are a metaphor, an interpretation that the human psyche has processed and created. Dragons are a metaphor, they're a symbol for electric flows of energy. Now, I use the word electric quite cautiously because it may not be the right word. And what I'm trying to articulate and explain to you is work in progress. We're in a realm of mystery. There's a certain point at which we don't have the science or the consciousness to fully understand it. And we don't have any choice except to work with metaphor. And any of you who listened to Stephen Hawking's colleague, partner in crime, who helped him write what was it called, the book on time? Brief History of Time. There's a new book coming out, which was their last piece of work that they were working on before he died, which is called The Evolution of Time. The evolution of time, this is Stephen Hawking, one of the great brain scientists of our era. They got to a conclusion which works perfectly for folk like us. The conclusion they came to was, prior to the Big Bang, prior to the event out of which the universe as we know it emerged, prior to the Big Bang, the laws of science and physics as we know them did not exist. Right? So what we have there is a wonderfully clear articulation from the bloke who's honored as the greatest scientist since Einstein, blah, 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 right? Saying, actually, there is a dimension to all that is that precedes and does not adhere to the laws of science. At which point, all of the Fritjof-Capra work and all that stuff, which talked about the Tao of physics, do you remember all that stuff, which said, hey, let's look at quantum physics as a way of understanding consciousness, at which point I breathe a huge sigh of relief because I'm sick and tired of science and neuroscience and quantum physics and quantum cosmology explaining the universe, when in actual fact it's an attempt, it's a metaphor. It doesn't actually explain it. It gives us words that kind of help us to. And now we get this clear statement: there is a dimension outside the normal laws of science. And that's our get out of jail card for it's a mystery, or there's a dimension to the universe and how it came to be that we do not understand, cannot understand with the tools we have at the moment. That's not just the tech, but the way our minds, intellects work, intuition work. It's a mystery, and that is fine. And all the world's mystics, great occultists, great metaphysicians, without exception, have said at a certain point, you don't understand it. The more we know, the less we know. What was before time? What is after time? What is a dimension without space? All those things. Mystics, occultists, metaphysicians relax, because we're just tiny little specks of consciousness, us lot. And those of us who are mystics, occultists, esotericists, magicians, witches, Wicca folk, we can surrender at a certain point to just going, I don't know. But even though my intellect cannot work it out, and even though my consciousness cannot quite grasp it, I am nevertheless sensing, experiencing, intuiting, having, from the Patanjali, I think, called the clouds of unknowing. Inside the clouds of unknowing, there's the rain cloud of knowable things. And we get an impression. Mystics, occultists, witches, esotericists, wizards, we get an impression. And we know, because we get that impression over and over and over again, that it's real. And we try and put words to it. So this is the thing about dragons. So I'm suggesting to you that rolling through the universe, there is a dynamic force that expresses itself with great will, great electricity. It's like Thor's hammer hitting the rock and the spark of energy firing out of it, right? And Sabrina, my wife, and I, we were out on the levels yesterday, and we watched a male swan. It had its wings up, its head down, its little feet paddling like mad to go and procreate with this female swan that was wagging its tail and getting out of the way very fast. And its dynamism, its urge, whatever it was that was driving it, kept it going for half an hour. It was hugely entertaining for us. That forcefulness, which then erupts in the human climax orgasm, or which runs through mammals, and you could see this forcefulness, this territorial imperative, I will have sex, has an electric dynamism to it. When you think about climax orgasm, there's an electricity to it, just in the same way as there's an electricity to muscle spasms. Yeah? Anybody who had muscle spasms, there's an electric sharpness to them. The human heart, its beat is triggered by little electrical shocks. I don't know if you know that what moves the muscles, which is why you can put a pacemaker in, and a pacemaker imitates the little electric shocks. So we've got this dynamism of electricity moving stuff. The brain, when the brain is at work, there's stuff happening between the synapses, which is electricity. And nobody quite understands this. I don't care how sophisticated the neuroscientist is. The big problem for them is consciousness, what's happening. And there's electric connections happening. And the movement of energy from the brain down the vagus nerve that connects with the lungs and the heart and the gut brain, that is so fast, so quick, so instantaneous. You know that you have this sudden sense in the gut that happens in the brain at the same time, and your breath contracts. There's something electric happening. And at the same time, running through the earth, there are pulses of energy, flows in the earth that sometimes erupt in the power of an earthquake. The power of an earthquake, the drama of thunder and lightning. This is all me trying to say to you, there is an electric energy that runs through the universe. Maybe that's what in Taoism we actually mean by yang. It's a kind of expansive electric force, which would be completely chaotic, completely destructive, if it weren't able to settle into form and become solid and have beauty, like a flower. The beauty of a flower, that somehow there's a form that's holding it, a magnetism, a gravity. And there's a magnetism and gravity that holds our bodies together, holds your body together, holds a blade of grass together, holds the universe together. So like, what you'll notice in the way I'm trying to talk to you is I keep going macro, cosmos, body, earth, that this dynamism, this electricity is moving through all of it in different forms, sometimes huge, sometimes little. And dragons, I think, are a kind of symbolic metaphor, an emblem, a gateway into beginning to think about all the stuff that I'm just describing. So I'm going to show you some slides, all of which kind of illustrate what I've been talking about. The first flow of slides are just some pictures of dragons, but you'll start to see some images where magicians, alchemists, priests are kind of beginning to manage it. And you'll also see some images of women managing this force. And I'm not going to interpret them, they're just there to kind of trigger a feeling. As I put this 10-minute slideshow together, I was going, oh, I wonder if I could have some good backing music to it. What would work with some Monteverdi, some Grateful Dead, some punk? I mean, what's going to work to? And I thought there's no music that would work all the way through it, so it's a kind of silent. Maybe we'll make some comments. But then, having looked at the dragons, there's then some images of DNA spirals. So they're gifts. So there's some movement in them, and you can begin to go, okay, there's a similarity in this movement of these gifts to the idea of dragons. And then there's also some similarity in the way the body works as a whole, and possibly we might want to look at, those of you who are familiar with a kind of Kundalini energy approach, you might want to look at what's happening in the body as the dragons move through the body, and might be another way of talking about, another metaphor for Kundalini and energy moving through the body. And then how it works in the earth and the stars and the cosmos. And the last slide in that stream is one of them. It's a GIF of the Big Bang. And all of it underlining my suggestion that we're looking at an electric energy. For pagans, I kind of think that And I don't like this as a model, but it's a model that kind of sits there in our history, in our cultural history, that it's almost as if when they use father, mother, child, upper world, lower world, all those things, you might start to go that the impregnating impulse, forcefulness of the father is the electric energy that's the dragon. And it would be another presentation that looked at the chalice, the grail, the cup, the cauldron, and that would be the other side of the coin. So I'm very aware that in this presentation we're just looking at the electric bit of it, but there's a whole other realm that creates beauty and harmony in the harmonics of music and the song of the spheres. Anyway, so let me show you these slides. I think the microphone needs to be put out of the way so it's not between the slideshow. Oh, look, it's Tor with his thumbs up.
As if by magic.
As if by magic. Go on.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, go on. Go on then. All right. Okay, this was just to kind of, for those of you who've taken psychedelics, this was just to kind of get you in the mood, right? Do you remember, I'll just leave this playing for an hour. Yeah, leave your cash at the door. I'm not going to talk through these, just 10 minutes of slides, but they'll give you an idea of what we're talking about. If at any point any of you wants to say, "Hi, that's me," that will be fine. Right, any of you relate to that? Any alchemists? No, you're being shy. Look, a lovely Christian saint who knows how to ride the dragon. Or is the dragon partly a Christian saint? Or is that an illustrator making a sexual pun? Yeah? If you have any good comments or banter, shout them out so we can all hear. I don't, it's... I like this one. It's to do with the alchemy of creation. What do you think he's pouring into the dragon's mouth? Any guesses? What would it be? Mercury, possibly? As a metaphor for the human imagination able to change it and work with it. When you're looking at alchemical symbols, they're all metaphors. There are idiots who try to act it out in real life, but it's all symbolic. Sorry, idiots was too strong an opinionated criticism. Me. All right, here we get something more. What's going on here, folks? What? Yeah. Taming. Taming libido, taming a bloke, taming the electricity, guiding the electricity. Yeah, taming. Say that louder. It was really beautiful. Can you say that louder?
Yeah. Taming and directing the creative energy and in a way
Great, you can give my talk for me. Fantastic. You see this one down the high street every week? She's probably outside waiting for you now.
Martha.
Okay, you must know who painted this. Blake, yes. Oh. But the angel is kind of enraptured by it. You're beginning to see this, what I'm talking about, this metaphor? What it's a metaphor for, which is why the dragon concept is interesting in its own right. I like this one. That's me. Me, 1,000 years ago. That's the missus, 1,000 years ago. Is that great? Yeah. Isn't that a fantastic painting? I've forgotten. I'm always crap on detail. I'm great on concepts and the big thing, but I have to have my notes to do the detail. If you go to the Wikimedia and put dragons in, you'll come up with an extraordinary array of images. I love this. Is this a... No, I was about to take us down the trans rabbit hole. I won't do that. Everybody breathe a sigh of relief. Right, that's sinister though, but it's a Nazi.
That's not taming the dragon and directing the energy, that's more slaying the dragon.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know which star system that is? Yep, absolutely. What's that? DNA. It's a dragon. Do you see where it's just another dragon. It's DNA again. Google anything and then put GIF in, and you'll come up with this array of stuff. Those of you who are wanting to copy this kind of presentation. What's that? Yes. You know everything. You must be part of my brain. Can I have some of your brain, please? In the brain, little ones, little dragons in the brain. And when they go wrong, when the little dragons in the brain go wrong, shit hits the fan. Mental illness, delusion, paranoia. And it's really interesting, isn't it, when you get the gut dragons calmed down, the vagus nerve dragon chills out the brain dragons. It's one way of, it's a new set of metaphors. Polyvagal theory, gone dragon theory. You know what I'm talking about? Polyvagal theory, people? No, not a big yes. So it's the notion, it's to do with the way the brain, heart, lungs, and gut are completely connected by the vagus nerve, and things happen almost instantaneously between them. Human body, unpacked, and look, things circulate. Everything's moving, the blood is pumping. Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath, spirit my fire my spirit. It's everything is moving. There's a dynamism to it. A lot of people on the developmental path, they become either too electric or too cauldrony. And the challenge for us is to manage both of them well, to get movement flowing. It's very kind of Taoist. That's somebody's attempt at gifting a Kundalini awakening. I like it. It's kitsch, but it's metaphorically got some. We know what this is. Yes, Kabbalistic tree of life. Movement. That's what the tree of life. Trees of life are all about movement. If you look at any tree of life, whatever culture you're in, start to see it as something where everything is moving and budding and growing, and the sap is rising, and the water is coming in, and it's inside your own body. It's a thing that's moving inside you. It's also moving in the cosmos. Yeah, thank you for deepening the conversation. Can you sing it? Very good, thank you. Ley lines. Do you remember what I was saying about when I was up on the tour and people going, "Oh, a ley line. I've got a ley line," and I'm going. Torb said there was a. Oh, look, it's got to be a couple of miles wide, isn't it? If these kind of energies are real. It's probably the most famous one around here, which is the Mary line, the Michael line. I mean, but again, what's the size of it? What's the flow of it? And let me see, it's going to come up, I think. Oh, there's another one, yeah. I would have loved it if the energy were moving. But I remember when, Glastonbury's, I sounded like Stuart Lee suddenly, didn't I? Anybody like Stuart Lee here? Any Stuart Lee fans? Comics? No? Anyway, one of the things that pisses me off in Glastonbury is Glastonbury's the heart center of the planet, and the heart center of the planet is going to, look how big my heart center is. How big is your heart center? The heart center of the planet is going to be something the size of the Atlantic Ocean, isn't it? Do you follow me? It's all of studying all of this stuff is a consciousness expanding exercise. It's got to be a bit of a mind fuck. It's got to be a little bit of a heart explosion studying this stuff. And if you get caught in the detail, if you start looking for if you start looking at it as if it's an Excel sheet and you're trying to put stuff in the boxes, this doesn't work. Do you know what this is? It's the worm from Dune. And when I read Frank Herbert's Dune, I went, yes, metaphorically, he's the first person I've read who's got a sense of the size of the earth dragons. Because can you hear me all right? Because I'm not using, the microphone's been moved, great. If the lays are large, like a mile wide, then the beings that ride them, the earth dragons, are going to be huge. They're going to be a mile long, maybe longer. And they're going to be these life forms are going to be riding the earth. And I'm in my 70s now. From my 20s, day by day, I've been just allowing myself to feel that everything I'm talking about with you now is possibly true. Now, I've got my bullshit scanners on. I've got a couple of brain cells saying this is all made up. It's all idiotic. But decade by decade, I'm just going, this is the way to experience it. And the one person I met who fully understood that as well was a woman called Paige Bryant, who found the vortices in Sedona. She also had the sense of the size and the scale of it all. And that if we were kind of minimalizing it so that it fits our psychological, intellectual frame of reference, we were missing it. And what we needed to do in Irina Tweedy's words, we need to throw your psyche into the chasm of fire. Throw your psyche into the chasm of fire and just allow yourself to be open to the possibility of all this. With your bullshit scanner on, with your reflective mind on, just every now and again going, no, this is all made up. This is all made up. But just decade by decade, I've been allowing myself to feel this stuff, and I've got to tell you, just as a lived experience of being a human being on this planet, the fact for me that I wake up in this huge ecosystem that I'm describing to you brings me, I'm not quite sure what the word is, it's a sense of place in a much more expanded and harmonic way. Yeah, it's a very enjoyable way to live, to have this sense of the size of it all and allow the cells, elementals of your body to just know it's there. It's not an intellectual exercise. It's a felt exercise. It's an intuitive exercise which you then feel in precisely the same way as when you're caring for someone and they're in a bad mood. You have a sense of the fact they're in a bad mood, and you have a sense of, okay, I'm going to do whatever I need to do that will help them come out of the bad mood. It's just that kind of self-felt sense. And sometimes you'll know that you don't want to say nothing, do nothing. Just sit there, get on with the cooking, watch telly with them, whatever it is. But you have a sense of what's going on. Do you know what I'm talking about? People, give me a yay so I know that. I know I'm not all on my own up here. And it's that same, just a loud sense of what the real ecosystem we live in is like. And for those of us who are, I think I'm going to change the slide. That's a bit kind of. Do you know Marco Pogacnik? He and I work together, and he does these huge, beautiful sculptures precisely to help talk to the dragons of the earth, precisely to move the energy in the earth. And he has a sense of. I emailed him yesterday, saying, I'm giving a talk on dragons tomorrow, and I'm going to mention you, because you're one of the few people I know who actually knows how to work with the dragon energy. And he substantial placement of almost like acupuncture needles. He calls them earth acupressure. I can't remember the term he uses. This is planet Earth moving through space, and the magnetic field that has, what's it called, that particular, you'll know, you know everything. You can be my personal Wikipedia. There's a special name for it, for the flows of energy around planet Earth as it moves through space. Anyway, when I wrote the blurb for this talk, for Tor, and I said yes to doing it because I knew him when he was 8 years old, before he became a grown-up. I was very clear that the importance of knowing this stuff is not the knowledge, but the intuitively, softly felt experience of it. And in the softly felt experience of it, there's an instinctive harmonic relationship that happens between us and the earth and the cosmos and all beings. Yes! Say it again. That's what it is. Thank you. Perfect. Look where we live. Look where we live. You know, a lot of the people in this crew, you're getting old, you're moving towards death, just like I am. You know, body's getting painful, stiff, whatever, right? Lie in bed and just go, fuck me, look where I am. You know, bloody hell. Whoa. Life after death, no life after death. It really doesn't matter if my consciousness is able to just go, look where I am. Look where I am. And I think a lot of us on the path of spiritual growth, we have an instinctive sense of that. We have a deep instinctive sense of it, and then we get screwed by education, culture, spiritual teachers who just like want to put you in a box, do it my way. I'm going to coach you in this particular. Look, why are you crawling like that? That was not subtle. It's like theology is the dumbing down of mystic experience. You know, like mystic experience is just wide open, and theology is I'm going to map it. And in spiritual teachers, of which I'm one, you know, educated white patriarch type thing. We tend to box people into this is the practice, this is how to do it, believe this, believe that, when in actual fact it's our whole role should be safely holding people so they can expand their consciousness and jump into the chasm of fire. You know, surrender to the chasm of fire in a way that doesn't harm you or harm it, and just let go, feel, notice, I think. Cosmos, our environment. Okay, and here's the last one, which is the Big Bang. Come on. There we go. Prior to which, says Stephen Hawking, you can now quote, the laws of physics and science did not exist. What a wonderful cocktail party line to call out to that shithead who every Christmas comes up to you and says, are you still into spirituality? You know? Oh yes. Ley lines. Yeah. Stephen Hawking, do you like him? Well, yes, I like him very much. Stephen Hawking says, before the Big Bang, laws of science and physics don't exist. And then your annoying relative dies. And like my dad, who was one of them, 3 days after he died, he came back and went, I'm so sorry. Oh, I am so sorry. Back to my little friendly thing to close it all off. And ta-da, 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 ends. Great. Okay. How much time have I got left? About 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
10 minutes of questions, that's all right.
10 minutes of conversation. Did you like the pictures?
Yes.
Yeah. Did I make my point?
Yes.
Yeah, which is basically expand your consciousness and get a sense of the fact there's some electric dynamic that runs through the universe, runs through your body, comes out in orgasms, comes out in pain, comes out in all kinds of things, and is running through the earth and the cosmos, and yay. I just love this stuff. Go, woman.
Don't you think that there's a possibility that dragons would also exist as ethereal creatures, as in as they're depicted in lots of pictures and legends and myths, that they could actually be
Beings.
directly real on a
Yeah.
higher vibration?
100%. If a tree is alive, if a river is alive, if a mountain is alive, if you are alive, if a cat is alive, if a dog is alive, an electric current is also alive. So we're in the realm of elemental life forms, Davic life forms. And yes, in my opinion, I agree with you. They are alive in their own right. And they will take on the form appropriate to the culture in which they exist and the way in which we are in relationship with them. I think they may have forms of their own, but my experience of them in their raw state is I don't understand their form.
Or you don't see that form?
Yeah, my form of knowing is clairsentient rather than visual. And even if you get a visual sense, I always feel that you need to go through that to what it feels like. Like, is it? Yeah, but you'll be asking questions like, in the first place, thank you. You know, the basic questions like, is this evil or is it good? You know, you've got some discernment going on right from the beginning, which you don't necessarily get from the visuals. But there's a relationship going on there. And yes, they're alive. Now, we didn't go into it, but if we were exploring practice, then you'd be looking at, building on everything I've said so far, you'd be looking at, okay, can I develop a relationship with these beings, these forms? And if I can develop a cooperative relationship with them, what does it mean? At a very practical level, someone like Marco, and I used to do this as well, you may be looking at energetic fault lines, dragon lines that are under people's houses and creating disturbance because the flow of water or whatever it is was capped and not dealt with appropriately. So you'd then have a way of coming into relationship with that stuck piece of electrical form or irritated elemental, irritated dragon.
I've had experiences of dragons, internal experience of relationships with dragons, but one could argue that that could just be my imagination, right? But I don't know. I mean, I'm humble enough to say that I don't know.
Well, that's the perfect attitude. But if you keep having the same experience over several years, where you're witnessing wise, intelligent, skeptical self is going, hey, this is very consistent. And even with the illuminated light of my skeptical intelligence, this is still going on. I think you can quite safely go, okay, it's real. Maybe.
But it's through shamanic journeying that I
Yeah, sure.
so
Yeah.
I wanted to say, right at the beginning, you said that electricity or electrical, it was a metaphor for what you were talking about, and it was an imperfect metaphor, which I agree with, and I want to sort of think a little bit about the ways in which the group method it describes what we're trying to describe, and then the ways in which it doesn't describe what we're trying to describe. So I think the ways in which it does describe what we're trying to describe is kind of the rapidness of the communication, the fact that it's kind of instantaneous and it travels really fast and it's kind of got this huge energy to it. And that it's sort of difficult to detect sometimes, but it's always there. And that it sort of drives things forward. It's energy. It makes things happen. Right? The ways in which it doesn't describe it is the fact that, for example, that magnetosphere image that you had, we have that image and that shape because we've been able to go out and kind of measure particular flows of particles and energies around the planet and map them quite precisely using instruments that detect it. We don't have instruments that detect the kind of, I like the word etheric, but there are other words, right? Because the other thing that fails us here is language. The thing that we use to detect etheric energy is ourselves, right? Our own consciousness. And the reason why I think our instruments don't pick it up and can't measure it in molecular form is because it takes a conscious instrument to detect it. And our instruments are not conscious, no matter how sophisticated they are. Even the AI instruments that people say they're developing will never be conscious enough to detect etheric kind of flows of energy. So that's where I sort of think the metaphor with electricity kind of fails, because electricity in the body, in the heart, in the brain cells, these are all detectable things. We can see electricity. And electricity is a kind of small thing. It's something that happens on a molecular level. Whereas etheric energy is something that consciousness, actual conscious beings, are kind of the only instruments that can actually kind of access and detect that.
That's very, very helpful. And I think I like what you say, and it points to if we are going to explore the more, if we're going to explore it in a experiential, not an intellectual, but an experiential way, we have to do what occultists, esotericists, witches, priestesses, priests through the ages do, which is they take sustained periods of quiet time, because it's only in the quiet time that everything settles enough in the psyche and the nervous system to have a sense of the etheric flows and the flows at the different planes, so to speak. And
I think importantly that you are the scientific instrument.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And there's no tech kit to substantiate it at the moment. But that's why I was saying repeated practice is the guide. Go. I think it's one last one. Is it? Torb? Where is he gone? Is he fucked off? No, bloke and then woman.
I think the metaphor might fail if we look through an either-or way of seeing the world. But if we adopt a both-and way of seeing the world, it can be electricity and etheric. It's like wave and particle.
Yeah.
It depends on the observer. So, science and spiritual don't have to be enemies. They're just looking through different lenses.
Yes, helpful. Thank you. Last one, I think, as our timekeeper has disappeared. Go.
What about the old maps? Here be dragons, or there be dragons. Why dragons? If it's unknown.
Could you hear her? Do you want to stand and ask your question? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but people need to hear you.
Okay, can you hear me? So, what about the old maps? Here be dragons, or there be dragons. Why dragons? If they're unknown forces, or unchanneled forces, or unmapped, scary in some way, why not call them unknown forces? Or here is unknown. Why dragons?
The human brain, psyche, is hardwired to interpret his experience in a way that makes sense to it. So, if I'm walking through a landscape where I haven't been before, and there's an unusual vibe to it, my psyche is going to layer on a story of some kind, an image of some kind, to explain and interpret my experience. And what seems to have happened, not just in Europe, but around the world, is that when people sense an earth force that disturbs them, I mean, I remember the first time, the Grand Canyon. You go to the Grand Canyon for the first time. It's just, it could be like a 10-mile long, mile-high dragon type creature. It's just like overwhelming. I think what happens is people color their experience, they clothe their experience. And in this particular case, a creature that's long, scary, breathes fire, can fly, can hurt you, very powerful, is an appropriate interpretation. Just in the same way as if you have a lovely, beautiful waterfall, which is really soothing and charming, you'll have beautiful little water elementals. The human mind clothes.
So do you think that this...
Last comment.
Sorry.
Go.
Do you think that this myth, I say myth meaning concept,
Yeah.
do you think that it's cross-cultural and historical and it grew up to mean the same thing? In other words, this is a common language to us all already.
To a degree, yes. But you also want to put into the pot trying to find the right language, and I haven't quite got it, but it will be astral memories of dinosaurs and Tyrannosaurus Rex that sits in the field, and ancestral memories of stuff. And if you were to think of trying to personalize the experience, and it is cross-cultural.
It doesn't have to be that dramatic, it's just fossils. People saw the things in the ground.
Okay, the fossils, yes. Thank you for grounding it. This could be the beginning of a week-long exploration together, couldn't it? What I really hope for you is that when you're lying in bed tonight or just chilling out on a sun lounger, you just go, okay, ley lines, big, dragons in the sky, maybe 1,000 miles long. And they're in my body as well. There's this life form that moves and we don't fully understand it. And that if you allow yourself just little quiet times to just, it's kind of fake it till you make it, know it's there until you actually know it's there. And know it's there until you actually go, okay, it is there. And with discernment. Anyway, I hope that's been enjoyable and useful. And you've got a whole couple of days coming up. It's been a pleasure working with you this morning. Thank you.